like the meditation that I was doing, I would like have a mantra that I would repeat over and over and over again to kind of like build a rhythm. And then you kind of get into just the rhythm of like kind of thinking about that. And then it like turns into silence after a little while.
Like you keep like repeating like a song lyric? Like Bon Jovi?
The
like,
stuff that I was doing, they would give you the mantra for that session.
So if I did like Living on a Prayer.
Yep.
I just
Whoa, we're halfway
there.
there.
And I just did that for a half hour. Would it catch on?
Yeah.
Or would I just get the song stuck in my head?
Probably both, but you'd probably get to a point where you would feel even.
That is
I
a
guess.
catchy tune. Not gonna lie.
It is.
Did you know he almost left that off the album?
Really?
He didn't think that it was that song was worth being on an album. He almost scratched it.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad he was wrong.
Yeah.
It's like #1 bar song of all time.
It's up there. It's up there because of Boston.
Yeah.
But
No
one told me that Bare Naked Ladies is Canadian.
Yeah.
Since when?
Birth?
The whole time.
I'm pretty sure it was the whole time.
Wow.
Yeah. It's been 1 week since I knew about that.
It's been about 1 week.
I was actually jamming that song the other day.
Found out in Brian Wilson's apartment.
You're right. Do you know that, who was it? It was Mama Cass and Jimi Hendrix?
That sounds like odd.
Mama Cass died in the same apartment complex as somebody else, and they were both owned by Harry Nilsson.
Who's Harry Nilsson?
You put the lime in the coconut, mix it all up. Yeah. That's Harry
How
Nilsson.
drunk was he when he wrote that song?
Probably. I bet he was just playing with coconuts.
Just hammered on the beach, just singing that lovely tune.
Yeah, there was something about the apartment where there was two people like back to back.
Was it your pal Kurt Cobain?
Fuck Kurt Cobain. I'm not going to give him any more of my time.
Don't say that, Michael.
Keith Moon, that's who it was. Keith Moon and Mama Cass died in the same apartment like a couple weeks from each other.
Really? Wait,
yeah.
Same apartment complex or
same like apartment. Yeah, like they were like same room.
How did he move in so fast? It was only a couple weeks from each other.
Well, put up the no vacancy sign.
That's so sad.
Yeah.
Man.
But could you imagine like being Harry Nilsson? Like, fuck.
I'd be pissed.
One person died. God damn it, again? These fucking drug addicts?
I'd be pissed. I just got a new tenant. Now I got to do it again?
I just got here. Yeah. I always thought that was like a crazy fact.
Can you imagine just being that third tenant?
Right.
It's like, hold on, people just keep dying.
Right.
Listen, no drugs.
This is a sober house now. From now on,
can't do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I love like little music facts like that. I mean, not that the people died, but just like crazy, like weird relationships.
Where's
like
the
that.
apartment at?
It is somewhere in London, I think. Somewhere in
Keith
England.
Moon, that would have been a interesting person to meet.
Yeah.
They said he was just the biggest partier of all time.
Yeah,
like
him
of the Rockers.
You know that Keith Moon was supposed to be a drummer for Led Zeppelin?
I did not.
Yeah, they talked to Keith Moon before they found John Bonham.
Why didn't it work out?
Because the Who was like just starting to take off about the time that they were like formulating Led Zeppelin.
Okay.
So, yeah, it just like took a hot second, or it was like happening about the same time, and then they still had a bunch of gigs to complete under the Yardbirds title.
Would you say that Keith Moon is a better drummer than John Bonham?
In what regard?
Just drumming.
As a drummer, no. As a performer, yes. Because John Bonham, like, he's a freight train of a drummer, right?
So is Keith Moon.
Yeah, well, he was, but like, when it comes to syncopation and like musicianship as like a drummer, like John Bonham will outplay Keith Moon.
You think?
For sure.
What about the dude from Rush, Neil Peart?
I'm not a big Rush fan, so I haven't
that's not fair, then.
I haven't been able to like dive into Neil Peart's musicianship, his drumming, to have a calculated opinion on that. But Keith Moon is way more of a showman when it comes to being like an artist.
That's fair.
He was loud. He was always kicking shit over. Like he was like flamboyant on stage, right?
Yeah.
He made a spectacle of what he did, so like John Bonham's the better drummer,
Fair.
but we're showmen, and Keith Moon's the
Fair.
opposite of
Gotcha.
that. Yeah. Usually Zeppelin and The Who are right there, kind of like in terms of favorite like classic rock bands for me,
Fair.
because they both have a lot in common, but they're also equally as different. You
Fair.
know,
Yeah.
I personally think The Who should have stopped playing when Keith Moon died, just like Led Zeppelin did when John Bonham died. But
Why?
it's, I think, disappointing to see some of your favorite artists grow old, and I even think this with like the Rolling Stones or any rock band that was big in like the 60s or 70s
AC/DC
try
did
to
it for
continue.
forever.
I feel the same way about AC/DC. Like,
Well, no, but can you imagine if AC/DC stopped when Bon Scott died?
yeah, they were able to thankfully find a replacement that worked.
Exactly.
right? But like seeing these guys get old
It's sad.
and play, like you're not as good as you once were, and you don't have it anymore.
Yes and no, because like it's great. So like I saw Crosby, Stills, and Nash before the pandemic. So this was years
Right.
ago, but I mean still rather old. I mean they played
Yeah.
at Woodstock, so
Right.
they're and like they were able to play well,
Mm-hmm.
and they sounded okay, but you could just tell that their voices were just
Right.
They were old.
Yeah. Now I'm a little.
Great show, but I was just like, oh, like,
Yeah, I'm not saying that they like
but it's
put
also
on
not
bad shows.
No, but it's also not fair because what you listen to is them at 25.
right. The
Like,
good stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like I mean, I even think about that like with Bob Dylan.
Oh,
like
I've heard Bob. I've heard he's
yeah.
terrible to see live. Sorry, Bob. Sorry, Mr. Dylan.
Sorry, Mr. Dylan, but yeah, I've heard
I love you.
same things.
Love you,
Like-
Mr. Dylan.
Like it's just tough,
Yeah.
Like people. I remember hearing one story in college where somebody went. He's like, "Yeah, I went out of respect."
Yeah, well, actually, I saw Tony Bennett
Yeah.
before the pandemic. He sounded great.
Yeah. Well, he's a crooner. So he's not whipping microphones around on stage.
Neither is
and
Crosby,
like,
Stills, and Nash.
no, but they had their party phases though. Like
So did Mr. Bennett.
He did not. He was
Just because
always
he was
eloquently drunk
Just because
in
he
the back
was
room.
sipping on martinis doesn't mean he wasn't partying in the back.
He was always a gentleman.
Yeah.
You hold your tongue.
But also he was like 92, 93. Sounded
Right.
great, but he can only I think the show was maybe 45 minutes. It was
Yeah.
less than an hour. It was an hour tops.
Who is the fourth member of the Rat Pack? Everybody knows Dino, Frank,
Sammy
Sammy Davis Jr.
Jr.
and Dino Spumoni.
That's not. It should be Dino Spumoni. I don't think it's a.
Rat Pack.
I'm not gonna know.
Members of the Rat Pack. This is kind of convenient to have this kind of up here like this. Peter
Joey
Lawfer,
Bishop.
Joey Bishop. That's who it was.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know because everything that I've heard is always just the three, but I've seen a lot of pictures with Joey Bishop in it.
Yeah.
I think there's a famous one of them all playing pool.
Yeah. I think that's like. I think Joey Bishop was like the famous.
Who do you think the best pool player was out of the Rat Pack?
Probably Sammy Davis Jr.
You think?
Yeah, but I think Dino and Frank ran the table
I
the
think
whole time.
What do you mean?
Like they would get into your head. They would like get
No, I
people
think-
to play
no, I
against
think-
them. They were always the one that were putting the money down. But I think Sammy Davis Jr. was like the shark.
I think Dean was the closer.
You think so?
I think he was a quiet assassin. I can see Frank being a big shit talker
Yeah.
and Dean being a quiet assassin.
I can see that. I can see that
Yeah.
happening. Yeah. Yeah, I always forget about that Joey Bishop.
I'm
Just like how everybody forgets about Pete Best.
who?
Pete Best. He was the drummer for the Beatles
Oh,
first when they were becoming famous, and then they
There's-
kicked him out for Ringo.
So it's funny.
I'm the fun one.
My buddies took I have a good amount of friends that are big Beatles fans.
Sure.
And in college they took like a Beatles class, a course.
Yeah.
And they were always talk about this. The teacher was this old British lady from
Sure. Right.
from England, and she always
She bang him?
No, maybe. But what's the drummer's name?
Pete Best.
So her line was, Pete Best was a better drummer, but Ringo Starr was a Beatle.
Yeah, I think Pete Best came out with an album called Best of the Beatles, which is not a greatest hit album.
But
It's,
like, that's gotta suck.
it does have to suck.
Poor Pete
you
Best.
know? Like, oh, fuck.
You could have been a part of the biggest band, arguably, ever.
Yeah. There was another guy.
And they chose that, and you know you're better than them. That's the worst part about it.
There's-
You know you're a better drummer. That's gotta eat you up inside.
Right. So there was a guy, Jason Mark Everman. He was in Nirvana and Soundgarden both before they got big, and then he quit and he joined the Navy SEALs.
Really?
Yeah.
What
Could you-
instrument was he?
I think he was a guitar player. Oh, he played bass in Soundgarden and he was a guitar player in Nirvana before that. And then he was just like, fuck this. I'm gonna go be a Navy SEAL.
Dude.
Like, talk about the polar opposite job description.
Seriously.
Like, I'm gonna go hang out with Soundgarden and play at Woodstock 90. Just kidding. I'm gonna go kill some fucking Taliban. Peace out.
Sign me up.
You know, I feel like jumping out of airplanes instead.
That's a pretty sweet
yeah.
picture of him.
Yeah, I know, right? Do you think that's his LinkedIn photo?
Highly unlikely. You think he has those bands listed in his LinkedIn? Dude, again, that
Look
would
at
just
him
be-
before he was in.
Oh, he kind of looks like Shaun White.
He does. Yeah, look at this guy. Like that's who he was, and then he turned into a fucking Navy SEAL. That's wild. That's always a fun fact, though. This guy was.
Why did he get kicked out?
I don't think he got kicked out. I think
just
he was
left.
just kind of over it, you know? Maybe he's like the ultimate hipster. Maybe he's the pinnacle of hipsters. Like, I played Nirvana before they were cool. I played in Soundgarden before they were
ultimate hip-
cool. And I became a Navy SEAL before Jocko did, which is also before it was cool. You know?
Yeah.
And he's like the pinnacle hipster guy.
Yeah.
The biggest one. The most pretentious individual.
I started drinking coffee before people knew about it.
Right, exactly. I told cowboys how to make their coffee.
I taught Chuck Norris everything he knows.
Do you know that Ip Man is a real guy?
Yeah, I knew that. Yeah. Have you seen that one?
I love Ip Man. Dude, kung fu movies are just like the shit. I love kung fu.
Is it true he trained Bruce Lee?
He did. Yeah, he trained Bruce Lee. There's a picture of him right there. He's probably 112 in this photo, and he still looks like he'd be able to whoop my ass.
You absolutely could.
Yeah.